So the match that many have regarded as the biggest of the weekend, England versus New Zealand. These two sides, they've had some great close games in recent times, and I have a feeling this game at Twickenham will be no different. The last time these two sides played at this ground, just about a year ago, it was 2 points separating them. They had a draw at this stadium as well back in 2022, and now they go face to face for 2025. And in this preview, we'll be looking through at the lineups, the key head-to-heads, and then also a prediction of who I think will win this matchup. But jumping into it, England, they announced their side relatively early in the week. Steve Borthwick getting it out of the way early and announcing what looks to be a very strong English side. In the front row, it is Finn Baxter, Jamie George, and Joe Hayes. So a huge amount of experience for Jamie George in that number 2 jersey. A couple more inexperienced props for the English, but still a lot of power up front. And I do think that those lineouts of Jamie George, they are going to be absolutely crucial. And normally when there's that little bit of extra pressure on, that's when we see someone like a Jamie George do extremely well. In the locking duo, Maro Itoje returns to the starting lineup. He was off the bench in the last match up against the Fijians, and Alex Coles, he will be playing at number 5. There were injury concerns for Ollie Chisholm, and he will not be playing in this match up against the All Blacks. In the loose forward trio, we see Guy Pepper as the number 6, Sam Underhill at 7, and Ben Earl slotting in as the number 8. So a little bit of a reshuffle compared to what we saw last match up against the Fijians. In the 9-10 combo, it will be Alex Mitchell at 9 and George Ford slotting in as the fly half. Now, he is the type of player that can slot over normally penalties for fun. In these type of close matches that we have seen in the past between New Zealand and England, that is the type of player you want at the helm. Also, if England do want to go a little bit more tactical and go for more kicking in this contest, then the perfect man to have at the helm is George Ford. Out on the left wing, it is Emmanuel Fiuwaboso. In the midfield, Fraser Dingwall alongside Ollie Lawrence. Then out on the right wing, Tom Roebuck. And at 15, Freddie Stewart. So a few changes compared to what we saw up against the flying Fijians, but overall still a very strong English starting lineup. Off the bench, they have got a few very notable names. Henry Pollock in their number 21 jersey, Tom Curry at 20, Marcus Smith at 23. Honestly, the list does go on. Genge at 17 is in there as well. So overall, England, they will be looking to play that 80-minute performance, and with the 6-2 split off the bench, that is exactly what you'd expect to see for the home side in this game. But moving on to the All Blacks and their starting lineup, a few changes compared to what we saw in their last match up against Scotland. We see the return of Scott Barrett and also a bit of a backline reshuffle due to the Caleb Clark concussion. But looking at the front row, it is Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor, and also Fletcher Null. This is the same front row that Scott Robertson has gone with in every match of November so far. Scott Barrett, he returns from his leg laceration that he did suffer in the game up against Ireland, and Fabian Holland keeps his spot as the number 5. Simon Parker moves back to number 6. Now, last week we did see Wallace Satiti in that jersey, but instead he will join up with what is a very strong-looking bench for the All Blacks here. Artie Savia at 7. He is vice-captain alongside Cody Taylor, and then number 8, they have gone with Peter Lakai, a young player who has stepped up to the next level throughout these November internationals. He's always been a strong player throughout the NPC as well as in Super Rugby, but finally starting to get some international minutes. And when you look at challenges around the world when it comes to that number 8 jersey, you don't have to look too much further than Ben Earl. It will certainly test Lakai, but I feel like it will make him a better player in the long run. As well, in the 9-10 combination, they have gone identical to the last 2 matches. Cam Roigard as the number 9 with Beauden Barrett slotting in at 10. Beauden Barrett versus George Ford, 2 veteran players in the number 10 jersey, with their younger proteges making their way off of the bench in the later stages of the match. Number 11, Lester Whainarnuku, so he makes his way from the midfield last week, moving out onto the wing. In the midfield, it is Quintal Pire still at 12 with Billy Proctor slotting in at 13. Then Leroy Carter on the right wing, and number 15, this is where we do see Will Jordan. But for the New Zealanders, they have really built towards a strong bench throughout November. I do think that Scott Robertson's starting to get it right we see the addition of Anton Leonard-Brown added into this bench rather than Billy Proctor, who is of course starting, and that is all due to the injury of Caleb Clarke. But overall, having Damian McKenzie off the bench later on in the game can only be a good thing for New Zealand. Many wanted to see him start, but he still will be an impact player and a half for the All Blacks. And this matchup, but moving on to key head-to-heads throughout this match, I am actually going with the number 23s. It is something we don't often do in regards of picking a player who is making their way off the bench as an impact player, but you have to look no further than Damian McKenzie when you look at game-changing players at the moment for this All Black side. So he would be going head-to-head with Marcus Smith off the bench. Now, both men are actually pretty similar in regards of they do offer you 10 as well as 15. They will both be able to up the tempo when they make their way onto the field. McKenzie, he has got that goal kicking. Marcus Smith has got it too, but I do see them leaving George Ford out there for as long as physically possible. Perhaps we do see Marcus Smith actually go on for Freddie Stewart in this matchup, or perhaps a bit more of a reshuffle and we see someone pop into that number 12 jersey. But the next head-to-head for this matchup, I'm going with the fours. Maro Itoje versus Scott Barrett. Barrett comes back into the side. He has got the captaincy, and he is a very physical type of player. Out there on the park, you've got Maro Itoje across from him, a guy who's able to get under the skin of his opposition. He is a nuisance when it comes to lineouts in the best possible way, and I do feel like up against the All Blacks, he's just that guy that when Kiwis look at their TV screens and they see Itoje, they just feel annoyed. And maybe that is down to the 2019 Rugby World Cup, but Itoje, he's really become quite the leader for this English side when he is in charge. He does try and get heavily involved for this English fullback, which is exactly what they will want throughout this matchup. And then the last head-to-head, I'm actually going to go a little bit different with number 3 in the head-to-heads, and I'm going Billy Proctor and Ollie Lawrence. Now, Ollie Lawrence, he is such a dangerous player in that English backline. He's got the power, he's got the pace, he's got the breakdown work. He is the all-round package in that outside centre role. And then on the All Black side, you've got a guy in Billy Proctor who hasn't really proven himself at international level yet. Now, he has been partnering with Jordie Barrett in that midfield combination. It wasn't really working for him, but now has Quintupai on his inside, and I've mentioned about it time and time again. This game is make or break for Billy Proctor. If he is able to step up and have a phenomenal game, perhaps there is hope for him in that 13 jersey. He's got Lester Fainanuku, who when Clarke returns out onto that left wing side, more than likely will be slotting back into 13. So this is the game that Billy Proctor has to show just how strong he can be, and to be able to do that, he has to shut down an extremely dangerous centre in Ollie Lawrence for this matchup. But jumping into the prediction now. These two sides, the last 4 times that they have met since 2022, they have only been separated by 7 points or less in those matches. We did see last November 24 points to 22 in favour of the Kiwis. And New Zealand have got themselves at this current point in time a 3-match winning streak up against the English. The match prior to that was that 25-25 draw back in 2022. Now, I went for a little bit of a trip down memory lane, and I learned that on that live stream, I actually wasn't there for the start of the match. It was my mum and dad doing the co-commentary for the game while I was doing another live stream from a different room, and that was quite an interesting one to go back and watch. But I also learned that in that game, England were down by around 20 points with only about 10 minutes or so to go in that contest, and they were able to bring it back to the 25-25 draw. And perhaps that is something that is on the mind of New Zealand as to why they have decided to stack their bench a little bit more than some of the other matches we have seen them play. But overall, I think this should be a great game. It is the home field advantage to England. They have had some very great wins under their belt as of late. I believe they're up to about an 8-match winning streak, including a couple massive wins in the Guinness Six Nations. But for New Zealand, they have found a way to win in their close games. That match up against Scotland, many felt like they were going to lose it. The game up against Ireland, it was the last 20 minutes that put New Zealand in a great position to be able to go on and win that game. And I do think this game could be a little bit similar, although I do really like the look of the English bench. Either way, I think both sides are bringing up 20 points in this match. They've both got dangerous enough attacks, so I am going to go 28-26. I don't know if I say England, I get deported, but they've got a good chance in this matchup, and I'm often wrong. I'm going to do it. 28-26 to England. It's a bold prediction, and it's one that will get me in trouble, definitely if it happens. But from the start of the November internationals, this was the game that I said New Zealand would struggle with the most. Now, I felt like because Ireland hadn't been in action heading into their matchup against New Zealand in Chicago, the Kiwis would find a way of winning that match. The game up against Scotland, the fact that lately, anytime they've played at Murrayfield, they do have a pretty close fixture overall. That game, I thought it would be a narrow victory for the Kiwis, but this game, I think it's going to be less than 7 either way. But I will go just those 2 points in favour of England. We'll see whether or not we're right. And if we are, I do apologise because it would be one of the few times that I actually get something right. But one thing I do know for sure is it's going to be an absolutely incredible game for this contest. It is a 4:10 a.m. kickoff for us here in New Zealand. We will be doing the live commentary on the channel. So anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know your score prediction for this contest and your favourite head-to-head that we are going to be seeing out there on the park. Should be an awesome game and a great way to continue in these epic November internationals. But thank you all very much for tuning in, and I will see you all for the next one.